Thanks for taking time to listen to this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Take a minute to go to therealresq.com to check out these and other great deals from our sponsors here at the Real ResQ. This episode of the Real ResQ podcast is brought to you by Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. Axness, because when lives are at stake and conditions are challenging, clear communication is of the utmost importance. Life Saving Systems Corporation. We do our work so you can do yours. Tough gear for tough jobs. And SR3 ResQ Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. Breeze Eastern. They dedicate themselves to our helicopter rescue world. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November of 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and the unique mission requirements have changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuers, the operators, and those being rescued has not. Contact them today by visiting them at breeze-eastern.com. The Axness PNG wireless ICS system can bring cutting-edge wireless intercommunication system technology to any aircraft. The PNG system can be fully integrated into an existing ICS system or can be carried on and off as a mobile base station. They can go anywhere at any time on any aircraft. Plus, with the strongest and most robust waterproof handheld on the market, this system can take a hit and keep working. Their wireless intercom systems are designed to enhance situational awareness through improved communication capability. This system brings superior noise canceling technology to eliminate rotor wash and engine noise from your ICS. The Axness PNG wireless system is currently deployed in more than 1,800 public safety, air ambulance, and search and rescue aircrafts worldwide. I have personally used the Axness system in 4 different countries and on 5 different airframes. It is awesome. If you want more information, contact them today at axness.com. That's AXNES.com. You just make sure you tell them Quinny sent me. Life Saving Systems Corporation. They manufacture the world's toughest helicopter rescue gear. From my favorite harness as a rescueman, the Triton harness, to the rescue baskets, the litters, and of course, the most popular hook in all helicopters, the D-Lock. The team at LSC will cut, bend, sew, weld, and machine these products into existence every day. We do our work so you can do yours. LSC. Tough gear for tough jobs. Check them out today at lifesavingsystems.com and follow them on Instagram at Rescue Gear. That's at ResQGEAR. And SR3 ResQ Concepts is a training company that can help with your helicopter training, a standardization and safety check, or maybe just an audit or an FAA refresher. They are here to bring your agency up to date with the most current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. The training staff is awesome. With the certified flight instructor pilots, experienced crew members, which I am happy to say that I am one of them, they offer training in rescue, medical, tactical, firefighting, ground operations, and night vision goggle use. SR3 is also partnered with Petzl to assist with personal protective equipment and the highly specific Lazard. SR3 also goes beyond the helicopter world as they provide high-angle rescue training and tactical medicine training. Contact them today at sr3rescueconcepts.com or over on Instagram at sr3_rescue. Up next, we've got a prior Navy guy coming on, telling some of his stories from the Caribbean, Adriatic Sea, land shore duty. These stories are a blast, and I loved every bit of it. So please welcome our next guest, U.S. Navy rescue swimmer, Mr. Jason Vaughn. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. Today I've got with me a Navy rescue swimmer. What's up there, Mr. Navy? Just kidding.
Well, we share the same name, so we'll just go from there. So, Jason.
You know what? I'm good with that. Mr. Jason Vaughn, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am. If I was any better, you and I'd be sitting around drinking beers together. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, all I got is coffee. So
coffee I'm going to go with tea. I don't know. It's weird.
Right.
Oh, man. Hey, bud, listen, thank you so much for coming and joining me. We've been in contact for a little bit, just kind of bouncing stories off each other. And, man, this is going to be fun. So you're actually the first... Well, you're not the first Navy rescue swimmer guy I've had on. Like, we had the boys from Lemoore and Lemoore Air Force, and they did their killer rescue on the mountain. But one-on-one, you're my number one. You're my first guy. Hey, how you doing?
I cannot top the mountain rescue, so I'm gonna start there. I think I told you earlier when we were just doing some banter that I'm here for comedy relief. Right? That's gonna be my history in the Navy.
I need a lot of that.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you what, Jason, if you don't mind, just give a little background about who you are and how you got into the Navy, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Sure, man. So I technically shouldn't have been a rescue swimmer. So
that's always fun.
When I was in boot, right? Yeah. So I grew up in really small, like farm type towns, rural areas. So there wasn't a lot of swim time, right? You could maybe hit a creek or whatever. But anyway, so, joined up, picked in the Navy, it's called AW, and wanted to go to rescue swimmer school. I had some knowledge previous to that of kind of what the program was. So anyway, so I joined up, and it came, I went to sunny Orlando for boot camp. It doesn't exist anymore, but that's where I went. And it came, if you're going into rescue swimmer school as part of the pipeline, you had to pass a second class swim test. So basically they take the people out of the company and in boot camp, they take you over to the pool, throw you in the pool. You have to swim. I think it was basically 4 different strokes. And basically, you swim the length of the pool doing crawl, you swim the length of the pool doing side, breast, right, that kind of thing. And so I got in and I started swimming the crawl, and the guy goes, switch. And I stopped in the water and looked at it. I had no idea what the side stroke, breaststroke, right, that kind of crap. I can crawl all day long, right? Doggy paddle, crawl, it didn't matter. So, and he looked at me and said, get out of this. And I like I said, I promised I would censor myself, but he said, get out of the, fill in the blank pool. And I'm like, okay. So I got out of the pool, and he said, you fail. Handed me a piece of paper, and off I went. So I got back to my company, and my company commander said, well, you're going to have to pick a new rate. I'm like, I don't want a new rate, right? I mean, this is what I signed up for. And he goes, well, you couldn't pass the test. So anyway, it was his last company, and I guess he decided to have a heart, something. I'm not sure. But anyway.
Oh, what a nice guy.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So he comes out of his office, yells, and I came over there, and he said, does anybody in the company know how to do the side stroke, the breaststroke, right? All these other strokes. And this one guy, still stay in touch with him, through social media and stuff today. But anyway, he actually knew how to do these different strokes. So on a wool blanket in the barracks, he was teaching me how to swim, basically. So, and then I went back. I'm not kidding, man.
All right, you gotta paint that picture a little more. On a wool blanket in the barracks. So you're on the floor or what?
Yeah, man. Laid out a wool blanket on the floor, and I'll just his name's Mark. But he was also going to be an AW, although he went on to be a fixed winger, so he didn't go SAR. But anyway, he taught me how to swim, and I went back the next day and took my second class swim test, and of course I passed, obviously, because here I am today on your show. So it's but so that's where it started for me. And,
oh my God!
Then of course went to Pensacola and went through SAR school. I was a broken class, I went the first 2 weeks of SAR in Pensacola. I went at the end of December. It's like the beginning of December, I guess the first couple of weeks. Broke for 2 weeks. And that was the best and worst 2 weeks of my life, because you basically are in SAR school, and we all know how arduous SAR school is. So you got 2 weeks off in the middle of SAR school. So if you picture what you did for that 2 weeks, you went home, you ate, you got fat, you got stupid, right? And then you come back and you have your last 2 weeks of SAR school, of which I think the first day we started out with a 9-mile fun run. And and it was basically so we could all throw up, right?
Welcome back.
So anyway, that is my storied past of, like I said, that I told you there'd be a couple keywords in here. That was the first one, which is failure. And so I learned real quick that you don't get a lot of shots, right? Once you fail, you fail. And there's no like do-overs. I was lucky. I was fortunate. God bless the company commander that gave me a second shot, pulled whatever strings he had to. But anyway, so here I am. So got through SAR school, went on to our technical training, and I landed in Mayport, Florida at HSL 42, which no longer exists now. I'm obviously an older guy. My period of service was 89 to 98. I did 8 years, 363 days. I think I was just short of 9 years.
Wow. That is incredible. I think I love the fact that you learned how to swim on a wool blanket on a floor versus an actual pool. And then they're like, just throw him in the pool. Hey, look, he passed. Okay, let's keep going. Right. What?
Yeah, there's hope for you yet, kids. You don't have to know how to swim to actually do this job. It's not a requirement.
Just out of curiosity, was he pulling the blanket down the barracks hallway as you're trying to do your strokes?
No, it's hard to you're laying on your stomach, right? And you're doing the push out and learning the frog kicks and everything else. And fortunately, like I said, I don't know where the hell he learned, because he was from a small town in Kansas. I think his graduating high school class was 11 people or something like that. So I don't know if he happened to be on a swim team and it was just him or how it worked out. But we never really talked about how he knew how to do the strokes. But no, I mean, it was literally just laying on a folded up blanket, and you're just laying there and you're picking the apples for the side stroke, right? And putting them in the basket. So yeah, like I said, it was a really crazy, weird way to kind of start my career in the rescue swimmer community.
That is awesome. That just made my day right there. So real quick, because you said AW, and it's aviation warfare. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd have to look it up as to what they call it now. They still call it AW, but it was yeah, Aviation Warfare Systems Operator.
I got you. AW.
It's the actual title. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. And that's so for everybody out there that doesn't know, that's the same as us for AST, Aviation Survival Technician. It's the rating initials, basically the short version part of it, right?
Yeah, we get codes they're called NECs, Naval Enlistment codes. So AW, well, now it means a myriad of things. You could be a jet mechanic, right? A jet engine mechanic, and have the designation of AW if you fly. Oh. So basically, it took anybody that was air crew and they made them AW. But when I was in, AW was a rating to its own, and we were rescue swimmers was one of our missions, right? So we were rescue swimmers, but we were also door gunners, anti-submarine warfare, over-the-horizon targeting. We were talking about vertical replenishment. We would do just about anything, and you would switch depending on where you were. And I think one of the rescues that we talk about coming up is going to kind of paint that picture of 1 minute you're out hunting a submarine, and the next minute you're actually in the middle of a search and rescue. Yeah. So it's kind of you just have to be able to flip on a dime. Which is awesome. Yeah. And I like that. I kind of do that now, but not to that extent. I could be out doing, a basic
hoists to a big tanker. Nothing crazy, like just putting people in and out. And the next thing you know, boom, SAR alarm goes off, or a medevac happens, and you're diverted to reconfigure the aircraft and gone. So I totally understand that one. So nice. So your 2-week break in school. So we had kind of the same thing in our time going through. So I can very much relate to you on that. We had to be there over Christmas. So they're like, yeah, you guys have to take Christmas break. And it was like, oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah, not sweet. We came out. We had our ass handed to us when we got back. I remember I think they even pulled me out of the pool. It was not a good day.
Yeah. It's horrible. And it was cold. It was, it's Pensacola. I don't care what anybody says. Florida this morning, right now, it's like 27 degrees in North Florida. So,
that's cool.
A joke, but the Pensacola Bay was in the 50s, and the ambient air temp was, I think, it was probably in the 40s, and then the water temp was somewhere in the 50s, and we were swimming our bay swims, and it was just flipping cold, right? I mean, it's just like, this is miserable crap. Why couldn't I go in August, right? August in Pensacola would be gorgeous, but no, I got the December, January class.
Yeah. Hey, me too. Hey. Oh gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. So after you got qualified, you get your first unit. You sent me this one right here, which is your very first rescue. I'm going to call this a rescue because that's what you ended up going to do, which is a super cool write-up. And then, man, you're going to have to give us a rundown of this because this is pretty awesome. All right.
Yeah, man.
Naval Air Force, United States Atlantic Fleet. The Secretary of the Navy takes pleasure in presenting the Navy Achievement Medal to Aviation Welfare Systems Operator, Second Class Jason D. Vaughn, United States Navy, for services set forth in the following. Citation: for professional achievement in the superior performance of his duties as the wet crewman on board H-60 Seahawk aircraft assigned to Helicopter Anti-Submarine Squadron Light 4-2, Detachment 3, embarked on the USS Leyte Gulf, on station for counter-drug operations in the Caribbean Sea on 20 August 1993. Displaying exceptional courage and skill, Petty Officer Vaughn's efforts made it possible for the apprehension of 8 Colombian detainees, along with 150 pounds of marijuana during a futile attempt by the Colombian crew members to scuttle over 3.5 tons of contraband from their vessel. Acting immediately during threatening weather, Petty Officer Vaughn demonstrated great loyalty and dedication to the duty by entering the water and recovering this evidence to help ensure the drug bust was airtight. His exceptional presence of mind ensured the mission accomplishment without injury to himself or danger to the aircraft. Petty Officer Vaughn's exceptional professionalism, initiative, and loyal devotion to duty reflect great credit upon himself, where in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. Oh man, Jason, what's up? Marijuana and Colombians and what? This is your first SAR case.
This was so, we joke, but it's most of the search and rescue operations that are conducted really happen by the Coast Guard, by you guys, right?
Yep.
The Coasties are the ones that pick up most, and especially when we're flying, home guard and those kind of things, when we're actually at home and not deployed. So it's not that often that the Navy gets to pick up and especially deploy a rescue swimmer, right? Usually it just doesn't. There's people that'll go an entire 20+ year career in the Navy as a swimmer and only do, training jumps, right? So anyway, so this one, the crew was already out flying and they were tooling around, kind of doing their thing. And by a crew, it's 2 pilots and an air crewman, and the air crewman happens to be a rescue swimmer normally. So they were already out tooling around and basically just doing visual identification of all the shipping that was in the area. So we, had radar and all the other equipment on board. So they were just going around marking contacts, right? And so they come across this little, and it was a POS boat, piece of, And it was bobbing through the Caribbean. So anyway, so they call back to get me, and so they basically started jettisoning, scuttling their actual. Basically, it was weed, and so they're throwing bail. Anyway, so we start the mission, and the mission is, and it's I'm not sure about you guys because it's probably different in the Coast Guard, but in the Navy, you cannot deploy a swimmer for an inanimate object. If you know the object is not alive, then you cannot deploy a swimmer.
Oh.
You can ask the swimmer if they will deploy for an inanimate object, but you cannot order them to deploy for an inanimate object. And that goes all the way through the commander-in-chief, right? It's written into our OpNav 3710 that you cannot deploy a swimmer for an inanimate object. So basically, my officer in charge came to me and said, will you deploy for an inanimate object? I'm like, hell yeah, I'll deploy, right? What are you talking about? Why wouldn't I deploy? It's boring as hell around here. Yeah, I got to go do something fun. So off we go. We come across the boat, and there's just a trail of bales behind this little boat, and they're just kind of bobbing around. So anyway, I deployed 3 times that day. So the first time I went into the water, you basically look around, find a bale, go swimming for the bale, find it, grab it, start swimming. They come in, you hook up, basically your D-ring to the bale, and off you go. So the first one was textbook, man. That one was just spot on. No big deal. Swam, got the bale. But there's time, and I think that's one thing that people don't realize is that there's time that passes. This is not like you jump in the water, 30 seconds later you're back on the hook, 30 seconds later you're back in the cabin, and 30 seconds later you're back in the water. There's actual real time that passes. So the first one was pretty much textbook. Hit the water, grab the bale, back on the hook, back in the cabin. And now the cabin, these bales they say 150 pounds, I think, in the citation. And technically speaking, dry, they were probably 150 pounds, but they've been floating in salt water. So they're now, it's like
absorbed.
Taking a bale of hay. Yeah, it's like taking a bale of hay, right? And just sinking it in water.
And then saying, hey, pick it up.
and it's got this cheap twine that's wrapped around it, and you're trying to, so the second bale, probably not so textbook, but in this amount of time that had passed, and it talks about the weather in here. So it was, the Caribbean is one of those places where it can be a beautiful sunny day and then just crap like 20 minutes later. And so the crap part started coming in. And so the sea state started changing. So I went in for the second bale and realized that I could not see the bales anymore. So I had to wait for the crest, right, to come through. So I'm in a trough, and you have to wait for a crest. You got to spin around really quick, find a bale, and go swim for the bale. So we're up to probably 3 to 5 feet, and eventually it's going to get 5 to 7 as we're going through this. So the actual crests, right, they're going above your head, and you can't really see anymore, and it's starting to kind of rain, and it's just getting crappy. So second bale, I started, hooking up to it and everything. And just as he pulled me out of the water, the twine broke. Right. So, I'm back down into the water. I'm grabbing the bale. So now I've hooked up again, and I'm kind of, I don't know, like hugging the bale / whatever. So I get up into the cabin, and now it's starting to wear you out, right? I mean, because you're in a crappy sea state, you're dragging this thing around that probably weighs 100+ pounds, soaking wet, and it doesn't move. So you're just, anyway, I'm trying to refrain.
Bet you were probably wishing for a rescue basket right there. Go throw that out there.
Right. Exactly. We don't carry those. Jason.
Yeah. Hey, Navy, rescue basket. Yeah. I'm gonna throw that out there for you. They have them collapsible now. You can just stick them up against the wall.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no, we didn't have that. So now that all the water is in the cabin and everything, and so the dry crewman at the time, who was also a rescue swimmer, but he's the hoist operator, he's asking me each time I come up, do you want to go again? And I'm like, so on the third one, he said, do you want to go again? And I said, I'll go one more. Right. So into the water I went, and now the sea state's just crap. Like I said, it's probably 7-foot swells, and it's just getting nasty. And so I wait for the crest. Again, I spin around, I find a bail, go for the bail, hook up, and waiting for them to come in. And this is where it gets kind of crappy, but so they came in, and I had hooked up to the hook, and I'm coming out of the water, and the hoist and it's that, you know it. If you've ever felt it, you know it. And you're coming up, and the hoist just goes like chunk.
Yeah.
And it's just got that, it's just not going anywhere, right? I mean, it's like literally like it's just letting you know that, hey, the hoist isn't working. So third try was not a charm. I'm now dangling below an H60 with a bale of weed attached to me. And this is where I'll never name names. That's horrible. But anyway, so I'm dangling, and every time a swell would come by, right? So I would basically get shocked from the static electricity.
Okay.
And if you've ever felt it, it's a really, look it up. An H60 pumps out, I think, like 20,000 volts. Anyway, it's horrible.
Yeah.
So, and he has had a hoist failure up top, right? So he's up in the aircraft, and I'm looking up, right? And you're there. You're at the mercy of whatever's going on. I mean, you can get off the hook and figure you just float around. But anyway, so there's so many things going through my head. One of which is, please God, just tell the pilot to come up, right? Just a 5 foot, man, 5 foot, and I would have been out of the swell. So the swells keep coming by. I keep getting the shocked out of me. And so finally I look up, and I see him, and he takes the hoist pendant, and he takes it, and he just smashes it on the floor of the helicopter. And then all of a sudden, I'm going up again. So I get up to get in the cabin, I dump the bail, and I'm now yelling at him, right? Because you're not on ICS, you're not, you don't have a helmet on.
Nope.
So I'm yelling, in the back of an H60, yelling at him, what in the hell happened? Why'd you just leave me hanging there? Why'd you leave me hanging, man? So unbeknownst to me, I am as white as a ghost. Right. So I'm like, and apparently, I can neither confirm nor deny this. I've got like just snot all over my face, everywhere, just because I've been beat to shit down below. So anyway,
I'm sorry, Jason. I do not mean to laugh at you, but this is very funny.
No, man, this is the life of a day in the life, right?
Yeah, right.
So he's looking at me, and he knows that I'm a crap storm, right? I mean, I've just been beat to hell. I've been in the water 3 times. I don't know how long time had passed, right? But it had been probably over 30 minutes at this point that we'd been on station doing this. And the cabin's full of weed. One of the bales had broken. So there's like literally weed everywhere. There's weed in my wetsuit. There was weed in his flight suit. There's just weed everywhere in the back of the aircraft. So he leans in, and he goes, hey, and again, I won't name names, but he said, hey, so-and-so wants to know if you want to go again. And I looked at him, and I just like Heisman'd him and just threw him off to the side. And in an H60, you've got the tunnel that leads up to, left and right seat for the pilot. And in this case, our aircraft commander was flying left seat. So normally in an aircraft, right, in a helicopter, they'll fly right seat, but he was flying left. So I go up, and my recount is I gently grabbed his flight suit and turned him toward me and said, in not so many words, I don't think I'm going again. It didn't come out like that again. So unbeknownst to me, he had to turn away because he was laughing so hard, right? Because again, I'm like covered in snot. I'm just pale white and everything else. So we at this point he actually called ahead, and we bustered back to the busters, just beeline back to the ship, who was en route to and technically we would have stayed flying, but he knew. I guess the crewman had told him on ICS. Again, I wasn't on the radios or anything at the time, the inter communication system. So, but he had told him. He said, "Hey, we probably need to get him back to the boat and get him down to medical because he said something about getting shocked. He looks like hell, that kind of thing." So remember, this is the day before my 22nd birthday, right? Yeah, the ship set flight quarters. We got back to the ship. We landed. And the corpsman and everybody met me, and they're like, "Yeah, come with us. You need to." So I laid on an EKG for I don't know how long because they were afraid that because I got shot that my heart would do something crazy. But anyway, so I laid down medical for quite some time. But the moral of the story is hey, it's okay to go in after inanimate objects. I probably should have stopped after number 2, but I went for number 3, and that was probably a bad idea. But so don't tempt fate, man. Just get what you get and get back. But anyway, that is how that one ended. Is me laying on an EKG and a drug waiver in my service record because we were covered in weed, and they were afraid that if we tested at some point that we may not pass. But
yeah, right.
So good times.
Yeah. All of a sudden the cabin door comes closed, and everybody's like, "Wow, it really reeks in here right now."
Yeah, it was funny. There really was. There was weed everywhere, so it's a good time.
Oh, Jason, that is hilarious, man. I'm glad that one worked out. The fact that even pilots laughing at you too, that just makes it even better.
Oh, he was. I mean, you've obviously done this for quite some time, and you get very tight knit with the crews that you fly with, and there's no punches pulled, right? Everybody gets what they get, and then you just become part of the crew, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, they were literally laughing to the point that they had to turn away from me because they didn't want to laugh like right in my face. So,
oh, what a great first case. So rescue. Now I did, the award actually mentioned something about, let me actually go back to it real quick. It was talking about eight members or eight people that were picked up. Yeah. 8 Colombian detainees. So did the ship go back and end up getting those guys off that and detaining them? They
did. They ended up actually detaining the Colombians that were running the drugs to the U.S. I think it says 3.5 tons. We were kind of, well, again, I was in medical, so hell, I didn't know what they were doing. All I heard was them scuttling the boat after everything was said and done. But yeah, we when we do drug ops, and people may or may not know this, I don't know, but we travel with leadettes from the Coast Guard, law enforcement debts, right? So when we're boarding, and that's not just in the Caribbean, that's really anywhere. We had a leadette over in the Red Sea. We had a leadette in the Adriatic. So we travel with Coast Guard because they're able to actually physically board other vessels and those types of things, whereas the U.S. Navy cannot. So the leadette took over, and they basically boarded their boat and got everything that they got the 8 people, and that was it. I mean, we offloaded them at a later time, but yeah, it was a pretty decent drug bust. I mean, but I don't know, it was weed. We were really hoping for something more, right? It's like, damn it, it's just weed. Can't be something else.
Oh, that's terrible. That's very funny.
The pitfalls.
So you're very accurate with that, and a lot of people actually don't know that the Navy has a Coast Guard individual on board, so you can board vessels and whatnot. And for everybody out there, don't quote me on this. I'm sorry even saying it right now, but I don't even care. But if I understand it correctly, if the Navy were to board it directly without having a Coast Guard on board or without raising the Coast Guard flag, it's like an act of war or something, because it's not peacekeeping service, blah blah blah. It's different. It's under a different article in the convention, something like that.
I was going to say, yeah, worldwide rules is that the United States Navy cannot yeah, I mean, it would be an act of like wartime type boarding, but that's why we carry, leadettes from the Coast Guard, is because that's considered maritime.
Yeah. So, which is always fun to have that, like Coast Guard goes down, you got a bunch of Navy guys behind you with like big old guns and stuff. They're like, what? Say what again?
Yeah, exactly. No, it was fun, man. Those are some of the best guys we met, and we flew with some of them, the leadette guys, and we'd take them out and go do. I mean, actually, we took them on a F-16 crash up in the Adriatic because we needed another set of eyes in the back of the aircraft. So we took the Coast Guard guy with us.
Oh, very cool. Guy. Very cool. Speaking of Adriatic Sea, that's the next one that you sent me. So, hey, I'm all about getting right into that if you're up for it.
Yeah, man, go for it.
All right, here we go. Here's the write-up. Naval Air Force, United States Atlantic Fleet. The Secretary of the Navy takes pleasure in presenting the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, Gold Star in lieu of third, to AW Aviation Warfare Systems Operator, Second Class Jason D. Vaughn, United States Navy. For service set forth the following. Citation. For professional achievement in the superior performance of his duties as Proud Warrior 426 SAR Air Crewman and Helicopter Anti-Submarine Squadron Light 42 on 25 January 1995. Petester Vaughn performed his demanding duties in exemplary and highly professional manner. During the ASW exercise in the Adriatic Sea, he identified a transiting speedboat as having gone dead in the water. With the seamless transition to rescue doctrine, he assisted the flight station in investigating, concluded that the boat was rapidly sinking from a 2-foot-long hole at the waterline. He prepared for a pickup of the rescue swimmer while marking the position of the vessel. Returning to the sinking craft, the survivors were found frantically jettisoning the boat's cargo. Immediately and precisely directing the helicopter to optimal position, he deployed the rescue swimmer and gave timely inputs while hoisting the swimmer and the survivors. His resourcefulness and accurate directions were invaluable in executing a textbook rescue of all 3 survivors. Petester Vaughn's exceptional professionalism and loyal devotion to duty reflected credit upon himself and while keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. Jason, dude, this is awesome. 3 guys, Adriatic Sea, sinking boat, freaking badass.
I'm going to say, so you see a theme here is that all of my rescues involve people throwing stuff overboard. So, and I'm not sure. It's got to have something to do with throwing. No, so this was back when the whole Bosnia, Herzegovina, right, Yugoslavia breakup and all of that back in the mid 90s. I think it was like 92 to 95. But anyway, so we were on station in the Adriatic. And again, you're normally there just monitoring shipping traffic and just burning holes in the sky to, we would occasionally do joint ops with the Army or somebody that was, crossing the land and, going in. But generally speaking, we were just there monitoring shipping to see if there was anything crazy going on. But in the Adriatic, it's about 80 miles wide from Italy to what was back then Yugoslavia. So they would take these, roughly probably about 30-foot cigarette boats, right? Just nothing but people, fuel, engines, and cigarettes, literally cartons of cigarettes. And they would run them from Italy to Yugoslavia. So they were basically black market selling cigarettes. And, it wouldn't take them that long. They'd roll across the Adriatic at, 40, 42 knots. So they were, humping across the Adriatic, and they'd make it in a couple of hours, drop off the cigarettes, get the money and then hump it back. And so we were actually, this is what we were talking about, I think, early before we started the podcast, was that we were actually out playing ASW, anti-submarine warfare activities, right? So we were out there hunting subs and just kind of playing around. It was just training exercise, wasn't anything actual, mission oriented. But so we're out there doing ASW and kind of playing around, and I don't know, we were still monitoring shipping traffic, and we came across this boat they're just fiberglass boats, man. I mean, they're nothing, fancy special, but they're quick and they get the job done. But anyway, these guys had hit something in the water at 42 knots, right? So, and you hit something at 42 knots with a fiberglass boat, and it tends to not end well. So they ripped a hole down in the right at the water line, and so they're waving and everything, and they're kind of starting to throw their stuff overboard. We knew what it was. It was cigarettes, and I guess they felt that the U.S. Navy actually cared that they were throwing cigarettes. But anyway, so it was three guys, three Italian guys, and so we bustered back to the ship, picked up the rescue swimmer. So I was now flipped over, and I was acting as a hoist operator, a dry crewman. So, and it was cold. It's winter over there, just like it's winter here, and January is cold, so he was full wetsuit, and we got back on station, and their little boat was just kind of hanging on by a thread. And so we got in and deployed the swimmer. And again, no names mentioned. Loved the guy who was my junior crewman when we were deployed. And so the last thing he said to me is, he goes, "Damn it, I got to get him off the boat." Right. So I gave him the 3 taps, and out the door he went.
Nice.
So
3 taps, free fall.
Yeah, that's it, man. 3 taps, away he goes, and he's swimming toward the boat, and I see him, and he's waving at the guy, right? Because he wants them to get in the water. He doesn't want to deal with a sinking boat and all that kind of crap. So he's waving. So the guys won't jump in the water. So finally, he swam close enough to the boat, and the boat's already, basically, it's not underwater yet. They're still standing above the water. But anyway, so the guy leans down because the swimmer's yelling at him, and he grabs him and he just throws him over it. Right. So he literally throws him over the top of him. He lands in the water behind him, and he's grabbing the other guys and he's throwing them in. So he starts, we're bringing him up, right? We've got 3 guys and a swimmer in the water. So we got 4 total in the water, and we're cycling through, bringing everybody up. And, so we get the last guy in, and they're in these reddish orange. They're not dry suits, but they're like winter, almost like a ski suit, right? It's I'm trying to think of what you call it.
Is it a big coveralls? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, like the thick padded coveralls that zip up the front, but they look like these guys weigh like.
Are you talking like a Gumby suit?
It's kind of like that. Exactly. They're the foul weather. Yeah, they're just not dry suits, right? They're not actually a dry suit that has. Yeah. So anyways, get them all up in the aircraft, and they unzip these things, and they're handing us cartons of cigarettes, like they're paying for the ride that they're about to get, right? Back to the ship. So it was. That was pretty interesting, man. It was that, honestly, when it said textbook, that really was textbook. It was, we came back on station, deployed the swimmer, everything. I'm sure the swimmer would probably have a couple different arguments on that because it was cold and the guys wouldn't get off the boat. But generally speaking, that's about as textbook as you get. I think when you go through school, you hear about these, right? That you're just like bang, bang, bang. You're pulling 3 guys out of the water. They're not really fighting you. They're willing to get on the hoist. They're cold. They're wet. They want to go home, whatever. So that being said, we got them, took them back to the ship, and then they were taken back to Italy. Again, it's just a short flight into Italy. But so that was the one in the Adriatic. That was, like I said, textbook, a lot of fun. It was the first time that I really got to real world, run the hoist, and other than doing like drops to submarines and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was the first time that really got to deploy the swimmer as a dry crewman. So it was a lot of fun.
Man, that's awesome. I love the fact that you have experience on both sides. Like I know it was picking up weed, but you were deployed in the water, which is awesome. And now you're the dry guy doing all the hoisting, pulling up cigarettes. At least you went the other direction. Was it illegal contraband?
Right. this was just cigarettes. I'm sure that there was some law against it, but they were making tons of money running stuff back and forth, but definitely not illegal in any way, shape, and form. But
that's funny.
But still a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, well done. Hey, you saved 3 guys from drowning, so that's bonus. Well done.
Yeah, that's definitely the best part of, I think, this job in general, is just knowing that you did have impact on somebody's life out there. Obviously not in the weed scenario, but what we did pull off in the Adriatic was pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. Now we're going to go a little bit further, because you have a kind of a semi-wildlife area. Like, I don't even know how to classify this. It's wildlife, but it's not really wildlife. It's
Yeah, so I think I told you early that I had kind of like a cherry on top story. So again, I got to do a lot of fun things, and it was definitely the best 9 years of my life that I got to do. But anyway, when I got home off my second deployment, which was the one in the Adriatic, and got home in '95 and rolled over to shore duty. So basically, you're just kind of flying a desk, working in operations, running flight schedules, whatever. And so I was on we used to stay on SAR duty out at Mayport, so we would basically back up the Coast Guard. And so you had primary SAR, secondary SAR, and if you're primary SAR, you were actually at the squadron. I mean, you were basically ready to go in 30 minutes launch. So we're hanging out. We're primary SAR for the day, and we get a call. I don't even know who the call came in, but it came into the squadron. How they got our squadron's phone number, no flipping idea. But so they called into the squadron, and they said, "Hey, so this is Jacksonville, Florida. The squadrons were out at Mayport, Florida, which is just out. It's just east of Jacksonville." And just north of that is a place called Talbot Island. And you'll hear them talk about Talbot Island State Park, Little Talbot, Big Talbot. But anyway, so a bunch of whales, I think they were pilot whales, had beached themselves at Talbot Island State Park. And the phone call that came in was, "Can you guys come and hoist a whale to a truck so that we can perform," and like I said, I think isn't it called I can't remember what they call it. I think it's necropsy or something like that, but it's basically an autopsy on a whale. But they wanted to truck it down to like Marineland or SeaWorld or whatever. So, an hour or 2 hours south here, but they wanted to truck it down so they could do an autopsy to find out why these whales had beached themselves. Because there were several whales. So suddenly there was so much chatter in the squadron, because this is, come on. How many times do you get a phone call, right? I don't care what SAR duty you're standing, where you're at in the world, you don't get phone calls that ask you to go hoist a whale. It's never flipping happens. So we're basically, like I said, we're primary SAR. So me and the other crewmen, we're waiting, right? We're like, hell yeah, let's go do this, right? How many times in your life can you say I hoisted a whale? So after, I don't know how many, we ended up having to go through the Commodore, and I think they might have even called Naval. I'm not sure who the hell they called, but so finally we get approval to go out and get this whale. So there's a ground crew, all rescue swimmers, that go out to where these whales had beached themselves, and they take a cargo net and a cargo pendant. So on the H-60, the H-60 Bravo, underneath we've got a cargo hook, and we can carry thousands of pounds underneath the aircraft. And we call it vertical replenishment, cargo ops, whatever you want to call it. But it's basically just hoisting stuff around with the cargo hook underneath. So it's not necessarily the rescue hook. It's the one underneath, right? It's the cargo
So you
hook.
do it long line, short haul. There's all sorts of different names for it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So they went to the beach, and they somehow, no knowledge of how they did this really, because we were basically flying and getting ready to come in and pick it up. But they had rolled this dead whale in the sand over enough that they could get a cargo net underneath it, right? So that you can basically wrap it up in a cargo net, and then you've got the cargo pendant that hooks to the net, and that hooks to the cargo hook of the helicopter. So anyway, so we came in and we hooked up, And you'd be surprised at first at how aerodynamic a whale can be in the air once you get it into the slipstream, right? So you get it basically nose forward, and they'll fly. So we flew several miles back to actually the state park that was there, and they really did. They had a flatbed 18-wheeler, and we put the whale on the back of this. Literally, just dropped it right on the 18-wheeler, and they strapped it down, and off they went to do the autopsy. The funny thing was, and I searched for this, Jason, but I think I'd have to probably reach out to the news agency. Me and the other crewmen, when we were basically bringing the whale in, we made the local news here in Jacksonville. So they had a news crew out there, and it was all, me and him in the door, and he and I mean, we're just dying because, again, you don't get to do vert rep with whales. It just never happens. But it was one. He and I laughed about that, and probably to this day would still share a beer and just crack up over it. So it was a hell of a story. But there were so many people involved in that. I don't know how many people went out to the beach to roll that whale. It's probably 20 guys out there that went from the squadron. So it's flipping cool, man. So, but that is my storied history of comedy relief and all the fun things that I got to do.
Jason, these are awesome. I'm so thankful you came on to share these. They're hilarious. It's interesting because I'm going to say I don't hear much about what you guys did in the Navy as far as search and rescue. The majority of the stories I hear are very seldom. Like, just they're not there, or they happen, but they never get back to me or us. So there's very few and far between.
I was going to say, back to my earlier comment, is, a lot of we go, which y'all's training now is more involved than ours is, because we're still running I think it's a 5-week program now. It was 4, and you had a week or 2 of what they call build up. So basically you're just running and swimming every day. But I did about 4 weeks and 2 days. So 4 weeks was the actual program. But honestly, once you hit the fleet, like I said, unless something catastrophic happens, how many rescues do you get, in the middle of the Mediterranean, the middle of the, Red Sea, the middle of, wherever you're at, the Gulf? It's just not, we do a lot of medevacs, right? We're usually, ferrying people that are, sick or something along those lines. At one point we had to take our XO into Saudi Arabia, and drop him off. And, we play Holy Hilo on Sunday and fly the chaplain around to the various different battle group ships. But there's guys that I know, if you go back to the Surf City, and that was, I'm trying to think, that was late 80s, early 90s. And I don't know how many rescues he got out of that. He, 20, 30, I'm not sure. It was a sinking ship. The water was burning. I mean, it was one of those hell and damnation kind of, it was a horrible, basically catastrophe that he was involved in, from a rescue swimmer standpoint. So they're out there. They're just not nearly as prevalent. You guys are doing it day in and day out, right? The Coast Guard's just there. And primarily because you're doing a lot on the coast of the United States, right? You always have boats that are sinking. You always have stupid people that go out in the surf and then they end up, a mile out, and that kind of stuff. Whereas we're not doing, we're basically confined to open waters, and there's just, unless somebody falls off a ship, you're not generally doing a whole lot of it.
Right. Or downed aviators would be another one if pilots got to eject and stuff. And so I know there was a lot of that training down there. Yeah. So nice.
Yeah, well, the plane guard guys off the carriers they're the ones that are flying starboard delta, and basically during flight ops, you've always got a rescue helicopter, right, doing circles, and that's for that very reason, right? Anybody crashes coming in, crashes going out, that kind of thing, ejections and everything. So,
wow, dang, man. Well, I'll tell you what, if there's any advice that you would give to any of the younger guys that are either out there right now doing the job or just something you want to pass along, man, the floor is open to you.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Like I said, I've watched a lot of or listened to a lot of your podcasts, Jason, and I don't know. I think there's always a common theme that nothing is going to go the way that you trained for it to go, right? Is you train and you train and you train and you train and you just beat the crap out of each other training. And then you go out there and the real world happens, and the real world never ends up like you thought it was going to be.
Not down the side of your face.
No matter
weed falling on.
It's just nothing ever works. We train, and I'm sure your guys that are doing the hoist operating and stuff. You train for things to fail, right? And then there's fail safes in place, right? You've got backup. The pilot can run the hoist. You can run the hoist. You've got backup power. Yeah, all these things that you can do if the primary means, but you don't train it when the cabin is full of water and weed and, there's just things everywhere. And so, when your hoist pendant fouls out, shorts out, whatever you want to call it, it's just, again, the one was textbook. We flew in, we deployed, we got back in, we left, life was grand. And those are few and far between. It's usually more like the other one, which is, you start out and it's a beautiful day and it ends up with rain and 7-foot swells. And, you're trying to haul weed into an aircraft or possibly people. But yeah, I think it's just train outside the box, man. It's think of things that can go wrong because, I don't know, training nowadays, I'm not sure where it's at, right? I've been out for quite some time, but I'm sure that there's a lot of lessons learned from old guys like me that have been around the block, But
it's like us,
sure
like us. I got to put myself into this. This is ridiculous. We've been doing like 20 years. Come on, I'm that guy now. I mean, come on.
I know, man.
So what the hell?
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but I think I'm coming up on. It'll be another few years, and I'll be out 30 years, right? So it's just crazy.
For how many?
I joined when I was 17.
You'll be out for how many years?
I got out in 98, right? So it'll be.
Oh my goodness.
We're 2022, man. I'm out 22 years, 20 whatever. Yeah. So 24 years.
Dang.
Crazy. Anyway. But yeah, it's again, my I guess words of wisdom advice or whatever is that just A, stick with it. B, sometimes it's going to hurt, and C is just keep thinking of things that can fail so that you go through those scenarios and try to work through what happens, because the crewman that I had was a new rescue swimmer and he was new to helicopters. Although he was senior to me in rank, he had crossed over from fixed wing, and him running the hoist, just there's so many things going through your head, right? You've got a swimmer in the water, you've got bags of weed next to you, you got water everywhere, you got a pilot yelling at you in the the ICS, and your hoist fails, right? And no matter how many times you work through that in your head, you've got now 37 more things that are going through your head. And something simple like, hey, can you come up 5 foot, 10 foot, whatever it is, just so I can work through this problem while not shocking my swimmer would be kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, just keep thinking of things that, just keep thinking of things that you can train through, and by God, train through them. So anyway, man.
Dude, that is awesome. Jason, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing these stories with me. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you. I look forward to the day that I can get to Florida and hang out with you, kick back and
man.
Even tell more. I'm all about it.
Oh yeah. Now, anytime you get around here, let me know, man. I'll buy you a beer.
Oh, not if I buy away first. Come on.
There you go.
Buddy, I will. I'll call you later. I promise. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Go. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ Podcast. Please take a minute to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you on as a guest. Or if you have any questions about rescue or anything else we talk about here, send an email to Jason at therealresq.com. That's Jason at TheRealResQ.com. You can also check us out on our web pages, therealresq.com, our Facebook page, and our Instagram page at The Real Rescue. Again, a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember, when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.